Hop on with us as we dive into the latest topics, share some laughs, and bring you insightful conversations in and around the realm of ag. From down-home wisdom to cutting-edge tech, we've got what you need to fuel your curiosity. So tune in, relax, and let's kick back. On the Tailgate, presented by Wade Incorporated.
Welcome back, everybody. We are on the Tailgate with Patrick Johnson, Telefarm Technology Specialist. Of course, I'm your host, Cade Moody, and I have my slightly upgraded co-host with me today, Riggs Ware.
I think I'm a fairly bigger upgrade than Gaston.
Oh, yeah, Gaston's a little under the weather. Though he did offer to Skype in, I was like, nah, we don't need you that bad.
I'll move up into his role. We're good.
That's right. So, look, today we want to talk to you a little bit about Work Planner. So we've done a couple of episodes on the Operations Center, and we skimmed over Work Planner as well as all the other tools. But we feel like that is such a powerful tool, and we've seen a heavy utilization this year that we wanted to dedicate a few minutes to talking about it specifically. And Patrick has seen more success with that tool and customer utilization than anybody else, so we wanted to bring him on. So, Patrick, tell us a little bit about just overview of Work Planner, and then we'll get into the weeds here in just a little bit.
Yeah, so Work Planner was, a tool. Okay, what did it come on? Probably 22. They started introducing that. And, the take rate was very low. A lot of that was, Op Center. It takes a very clean Op Center account. You need, of course, it functions solely off of boundaries. So you need really good RTK run boundaries. But we had a couple of farms that started using it, and they saw an immediate benefit on, number one, just efficiency. They were able to sit in the office in the winter, whether it's with their seed rep, chemical rep, fertilizer rep, whatever it is, agronomist, and start building the plans, right? Could be December, January, they're building plans. And, I had one farmer that probably made the greatest statement that I quote him all the time when visiting somebody on Work Planner was, if a mistake's going to be made, he said, I need to be the one making the mistake, not my operator. It just that burden needs to be on me, my agronomist planning, and then the operator, when he gets to that field, that job's in his tractor. It populates everything that we put in, and the number one thing is you start the year off. If your planning documentation is accurate, the rest of the season rolls smoothly. It rolls right into that combine. So, Work Planner to me is just the most efficient way to stay accurate, to keep Op Center clean, carry it through the season, send that plan straight into the combine, and then you actually have something very usable, very accurate to analyze.
Less work in the combine display as well, which that's the last thing people want to do when they're harvesting is worry about what variety of they're harvesting right now. So backing up to, you were talking about the lower take rate years ago, and it was probably, we were just learning about it, and we were the ones that were responsible for pushing it and getting it out there. But also, I'll say probably just here in the last year or so, we've seen an influx of equipment that's compatible. So talk a little bit about the requirements. What do I need? I got an Op Center, what do I need to have? What kind of machine do I need to have, or displays, or connectivity to unlock Work Planner?
Of course, it's Gen 4 and above. 24, probably 24-2 or greater software. Of course, we try to keep our
stay current.
We want our software current. And then V2 processors has been the big thing this year. With more people coming on board, we started finding out those V1 processors.
Which that software caps out at what, 2017 maybe was the last year that
17
software that
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
So that'll keep you from a lot of features.
Exactly. Yep. And so, you know, it was one of those things. I mean, yeah, I go back to last summer. I think for us as an IntelliFarm department, and the 10-week demo farm that we ran, where we brought, you know, our sales force in, some techs, we brought a few farmers in, but for 10 weeks we ran Work Planner.
Yeah. On every pass.
On every pass.
Simulating every single pass over that
And
40 acres.
So you're exactly right. That's where I got so comfortable with it. And then I started seeing this is easy. I think some people fear it being hard. I mean, you know, you throw I got to plan something. I got to spend so much time. Honestly, if you have your variety, you have your boundaries, op center's clean, a plan doesn't take 2 minutes to make.
Really?
No, it's quick, and it's now on the mobile app. So you can build a plan on the mobile app, or you can edit a plan on the mobile app. You don't have to be behind your computer.
I just want to dumb it down just a little bit for some people
You're pretty good at that.
and for me. When you say work plan, your farmer says field number 37 needs this much chemical to the acre, and it sends it to that machine.
Yeah, so they're going to build their. So let's talk seed first.
That's fine.
Yeah, but so they're usually going to start off. Hey, how much corn, cotton, soybeans, whatever we're going to plant, and then they start breaking it out by field, by crop, by variety, and you can immediately start tagging that in the plan. You know, Work Planner starts off with you make a field selection. You go in, then you make a crop selection, a variety selection. Then on rate, the beautiful thing is you can set a straight rate, or you can pull in a prescription at that point to the plan. That's either through, you know, our TELUS prescription creator in Op Center, or these seed companies. Most of them have their own prescription software. It doesn't matter. It'll pull it in right there. From that point, you can add a product tank mix, and then you start selecting the equipment, the tractor, the planter that it's going to. You can you can put an operator in there, you can put work notes in there, and bam, create plan. It doesn't send it to the tractor at that point. You can just store them. So it stores that plan for however long you want. I mean, as many plans as you want. And then you determine when you want to send it to that equipment and how many plans you want to send at a time.
Gotcha.
Waiting for rain or do they run out of this variety or all kinds of factors. And that's what I think people are. I've talked to some people that are hesitant because I'll come at them with that same pitch. Like, man, you can go, you know, when you start ordering seed, when you get a ballpark idea of what you're going to do, you could go ahead and build your work plans. And the first reaction is, well, yeah, but that's going to change 10 times. I'm like, that's fine. You just go in there and you bulk edit. Just go select all this variety and change it to this variety. Or if it's a major change, just delete them and start over. It doesn't take any time to go in there and grab fields and pick a variety. Yeah. And what I love about I believe it's the seeding pass in Work Planner gives you that summary tab. And it's so for those of you that are familiar, Operations Center used to have a crop planner, I believe was the name of the tool. And it was strictly a budgeting tool. It did nothing it did not talk to equipment. It didn't receive data. It didn't transmit data. It literally was just like an Excel spreadsheet for your farm. For what variety was I putting here? What variety was I putting here? How many seed per acre? And it'll tell you at the end of it, once you got done with that crop plan, here's how many, you know, bags of seed you need to have ready of this, 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 and this. Good tool, but really didn't do much. And so what they've done now is they've moved that into Work Planner. So with seeding only, I'm asking for it for application, but right now it's seeding only. You go in there and you build those work plans by variety, by crop, and it says, all right, you need this many bags of this seed, this variety. You know, this percentage of your land is planned in variety A, this portion is planned in variety B, this portion is unplanned, it'll spit all that stuff out. So a good tool to have, even if you are going to go in there and change it 2 to 3 times before it goes into the field. But like Patrick said, you just save that in your op center. Just leave it right there. And then morning of, week of, depending on what the forecast looks like, grab those files and shoot them to that equipment.
Yeah, and like I say, there's several farmers in some different areas that just kind of bought into it right off the start, and several years ago, and they don't allow a piece of machinery to leave the lot without a work plan. It doesn't go to the field without a work plan, and it goes back to. One farmer told me this year, after the start of the year, he called and wanted to look at his op center. And he said, the reason why I've never looked at it or really utilized it before is when I open it up, I just see trash, and wanted to know a way, number one, how to clean it up, but how to keep it clean. Work planner is no better function than to keep that account clean, that op center clean. Because you don't have a driver out there that's putting in, his own farm name, how he knows it, but it may not be how it is in op center, how the grower, the owner wants it. And so when you get tractors out there running, they're putting in their own field numbers or guessing, or that's just junk back into the system. That work plan, that it eliminates all that.
Yeah, and it also makes we may discuss this on the other episode, Operations Center, but that infield data sharing tool,
seamless.
It makes it seamless.
Makes it seamless.
Those two guys accept that same work plan.
Yep.
There's no misspelling going on. Like what your guy said earlier, if there's going to be a mistake made, I want it to be on me.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
And then, in carrying it past planning and sending it to the equipment, what I like about it is the progress. The progress bar.
Absolutely.
So, and this goes back to partnering with your fertilizer rep or whoever it is that, you get out there, you have that plan going, and that guy supplying, whether it's seed or fertilizer or whatever the product may be, when he can log in and he can see where your progress is, he can have that fertilizer spotted well in advance, or he can see, hey, we're running a little short. Maybe they're not running a prescription, or maybe they changed some rates, so they're kind of maybe guessing a little bit. Mm-hmm. It starts taking guesswork out.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned a little bit ago, and I wanted to come back to it, talk about the customer that says, and I've had this, and the reason I'm bringing this back up is because I've had multiple customers tell me when I'm trying to talk them into trying Work Planner, I don't have time. Mm-hmm. I don't have time to. I don't have my time. I don't have my computer. I don't want to. I got to get to that machine. But I think though the other side of that is if you'll just stop, grab your phone, send that guidance track, that client farm and field, that variety, that rate. If you got an integrated system, Deere on Deere, you don't have time to go to that tractor.
No, you're saving time.
You're saving time.
Yeah, you're exactly.
I mean, because how many operators out there have to go help the guy find the guidance track?
Oh yeah.
And then with Work Planner,
moving from field to field and all that.
Yeah, with Work Planner, I'm sending that guidance track. I'm telling him, this is the guidance track you're going to use. This is the seed you're going to plant. This is the rate. This is your prescription. Oh, and by the way, I'm going to go ahead and extract and input your prescription. Yeah. There's none of that. No extracting, converting prescriptions, no thumb drives. In fact, if you're going to use a prescription on any pass, highly recommend you use Work Planner.
Yeah, for sure.
I think your savings are there alone. Let's just say that's your one pain point, prescriptions. I struggle with prescriptions. If you got Gen 4 with a V2 processor or Gen 5, highly recommend Work Planner.
Yeah. In the ag market, the economy where we are. It's terrible. It's hard. It's a very difficult time on the grower. I mean, it's no doubt, no questions about that. And so it really seems like this year there were more calls about, and this is farmers that we've talked to before. We may have had them in clinics before, but over this winter there was more calls and more interest in documentation, and and then carrying that to work planner. And these guys are realizing, not that they didn't already know it, but financial tough times, they're starting to, they want to dig into that area of the field that is not making any money. Or, as one farmer put it, rather than blanket fertilizer out there, I'm going to create prescriptions because this part of the field is not capable of producing 240 bushel corn.
So don't give it 240 bushels worth of material.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. He created, his own prescriptions based off of what he knows about his own fields, and utilized Work Planner his first year to do it.
Yeah. So, and this is kind of related. I mean, it's definitely related, but Op Center is trying to integrate it more. You keep talking about these guys using their own prescriptions and this TELUS prescription creator. What are some of the, one, what is it? And then two, what are some of the, I guess, limitations of it for a customer?
Talking about TELUS in
TELUS,
general?
yeah, the one that's in Op Center.
So the one that's in Op Center is, if you go into it, you realize it actually exits Op Center. It's not a Deere. It's not an Op Center prescription writer. TELUS is its own company. But basically, what you have several options. You can base a prescription. So you're going to go in there. You're going to select your own, you as a client and your farm and your field. And then you're going to have, it's going to ask you for several different options on how you want that prescription to be based on. And that being yield, it'll base it off soil type, which is just Sorgo. Mm-hmm. It'll base it off of, there's a free form zone where you.
That's been a popular one, I've noticed.
That's a popular one where people just want to maybe plant under pivots, a certain rate, and then outside the pivot a different rate, so they can free form it.
It's got the circle, the circle radius tool, so you go find the center of that pivot and drag it out and take it to the sprinkler and you're done.
Yeah. A lot of people will kind of compare maybe their soil test and kind of zone out their field based off of what the soil reports show. Kind of a side by side.
Still drawing it though, right?
Still drawing it from a soil test.
So that's kind of segues into what I was mentioning earlier, the limitations. It does have some limitations. It's a free tool. Comes with the Op Center. Yeah. I would say one of the biggest ones that I hear from guys that are familiar with other prescription builders is being limited to a single boundary.
Yes.
You're not. There's no farm level prescriptions. I mean, it's going to be whatever boundary you've got in Op Center. One, it has to have a boundary to build a prescription. But two, you're not going to merge field 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 together and build a prescription. Yeah. With this tool, it's just going to be field by field.
And we've kind of had some talks with some of our local, Deere reps about something similar to this, especially with the new combine technology. Because, I mean, how many times do we have 3 different boundaries that we're jumping across to plant? Well, in Work Planner, that's going to be 3 jobs.
Yep.
And so that is a limitation to it right now. I hope, some farmers have decided to go ahead and make that one boundary. You can have your other 3 boundaries somewhat inactive and just work off, if all 3 of those boundaries are in beans, then you can activate that large boundary and have it active for this year. But next year, that middle field may be corn. or whatever the crop
Yeah.
rotation is. So
A lot of homework to
It's a-
swap back and forth.
it is a lot of homework to swap back and forth. That is something that you and I have talked with some of the Deere guys about. If maybe we can one day get to grouping a job, and Work Planner be able to pick that up and go across those boundaries, something like that.
Yeah. Now, I did see there was an update, I believe it was the 25.1 update, that allowed customers to go in, if you are using Work Planner and you get close to other fields, it'll keep that giant window from coming up over the screen, prompting you to accept the new job.
Yeah. So if you're in no matter what size field, but because of your turnarounds, we don't plant headland. So, it's your rows are going all the way to the edge, and so if you got a straight field here, but it's buttoned up to say an angled field, so in your turnaround, the tractor's
You're gonna nick
actually
that other one,
nicking
yeah.
that other one. Well, the work plan can pick that field up, and pop up that you have a job for this field. Well, 25.1 update now has a checkbox where you can turn that off, and that way that when the tractor does edge into that next boundary, it doesn't give him that alert every time.
So it'll only, you have to go into work list, into plan, and go find your work plans that way.
It's on the summary page in advanced settings. Yeah.
But I think it does throw a window shade down, I believe, still, like, hey, there's work or something. But it's kind of like a subtle message instead of screaming in your face and taking up your whole
And it doesn't,
screen.
it doesn't stay there. I don't
Right,
think.
yeah.
Yep.
But it's, so so back to so we talked about the equipment requirements, so Gen 4 and better, V2 processor in that Gen 4, JD Link or a modem, activated, Operations Center account, of course.
Yep.
But then back to the digital requirements, you need good boundaries.
Yep.
And one of the things that I see that keeps people from using keeps people from using Work Planner is your guidance tracks also need to be associated to that boundaried field. So kind of what you were talking about, if I got customers that'll have a guidance track for the back 40, but that same guidance track is used in 5 40-acre blocks that are over there. And their boundaries don't have, the guidance track exists in one field, they stay on it for all of them. That can cause some issues. And so
Easy fix if if we sit down with the grower and copy that guidance track into those other boundaries, and your problem solved.
Yeah, or go back to that what you were just saying. How often is this going to be the same crop?
Yep.
How often are you running end to end?
Yep.
Or whatnot. But there are workarounds for almost every situation that we've seen that keeps people from Work Planner.
Yep.
And it's a powerful tool. So we've talked a little bit about planning, touched on application a little bit, but anything more on application, or of course we need to talk about the harvest work plans as well.
Well, with the newest combine technology, and that predictive technology, the look ahead, the bringing in the satellite imagery, along with those cameras that are feeding 35 feet out in front of the header. That technology is brought in only through Work Planner. So
So you got to have Work Planner to run that.
yes, to utilize. Now the combine's going to run if you want it.
Yeah.
But for the total utilization of the technology that's available, all that is brought in through a work plan. Well, if you've used Work Planner through the whole season, or especially at planting, you're talking about a direct documentation is going to feed right along to the combine. So everything matches. It goes back to, it doesn't take long, it's efficient, and the end result is that guy wants to see something that he can analyze, something that he can see where he lost money, made money, where we need to cut and make changes for next year. That's only as good as the documentation. And Work Planner is, to me, is the best start, the best feature in Op Center for documentation.
And it's free.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, spend a little bit of extra time for you to learn more about your farm to help further it and use it better, I guess.
And these guys know their fields.
Yeah.
They know their fields. They know where they have a
Hot spot.
or they know where they have some drainage issues. But, man, Work Planner and utilizing a prescription type tool will allow them to zero that out and manage that differently. And it's one thing to manage and make changes across, a 40-acre field. You get some minimal savings. But, man, you go 250, 300-acre field, you start those subtle changes start mounting into a lot of money. So
yeah, it's like what we were talking about in our planner episode. People are talking about internal boundaries on irrigation pads.
yeah,
And there's a little bit of grunt work at the front of it. You got to go out there and you got to run a boundary, an internal boundary around that. It takes a little bit of time,
mm-hmm.
but then you turn around, you run that planner over 1 year. You're like, well, I saved a little bit, but now you got that boundary. Every year you come back over that spot and you save it a little bit, save it a little bit, and save it a little bit. And I think that's what all this is about. It's just control what you can control.
Yep.
Slowly cut some stuff where you can, where it's not going to affect you on the back end. And while all of that's being done, getting perfect, optimal data back from your operation so that you can see what worked, what didn't work, what do I need to stick with, what do I need to give up.
It's the whole purpose of
It's
data.
it's the definition of Precision Act.
That's it.
So, well, that was a pretty good little conversation on Work Planner.
I learned some stuff.
That's what it's all about, Riggs. Just bettering yourself every day.
Exactly.
Anyway.
What do the viewers, the listeners, what do y'all want to see?
That's right. Yeah. Y'all give us a
through
shout.
Operations Center from a 10,000-foot view all the way down to up close and personal like Work Planner.
Yeah, we're happy to get in the weeds or give an overview on anything. Y'all got the email on the tailgate at wadeinc.com. Anything you want to hear about Op Center, any guests you want us to get on the show, any questions, feedback, or stories you want to share, just let us know at that email address. So until next time, be sure and keep those tailgates down.